Welcome to Laughter and Enlightenment with Sharon Gambrill here at Radio Northern Beaches 88.7 or 90.3 FM. Or you can live stream through the website at rnb.org.au or through the app TuneIn Radio. And lucky for you, you've tuned in because this week's show I have a fabulous guest. It's Roslyn Harrison. And Roslyn is one of our very hard-working Northern Beaches councillors representing the Frenchs Forest ward. She is also a full-time primary teacher and mum to 3 very busy teenage boys. Welcome to the show, Roslyn.
Hi, Sharon. Thank you for having me on today.
Thank you very much for your time. I know you're extremely busy.
Yes. I've got time for you today.
Absolutely marvellous. I'm very thankful to speak to you because I think it's wonderful to highlight women in our community doing marvellous work and how you achieve that and how you balance it all. I think that's a very good thing to highlight for us.
And it certainly is a balancing act, I must say that.
Yes. So tell me, Roslyn, you're in the Northern Beaches Council.
Yes.
And I'm just wondering, when you were growing up, were you interested in politics or local government as a girl, or is that something that's an interest that you've developed later in life as an adult?
I think I always have been, but never realised it at the time. I was, a school prefect and then school captain and always advocating for what I believed was right, trying to find a cause and fight for that cause. But I think if you asked me as a child, did I have any political aspirations, I would have said absolutely not. But then as I've become older and things have come home in a very local way, particularly since having children,
yes,
I then have said, well, hang on a sec, I do love my community, I do believe in it. And one of the ways that I can stand up for my community is to run for local government. And rather than complain about what goes on in our community, be active and do something about it.
Yes, that's a fantastic attitude to have. And I've noticed that people that are involved in politics at any level, they often are achievers at high school. They are the school captain or prefects, they're in the debating society and they're involved in community groups. And if there was a teenage girl, for example, listening, how would you recommend she gets involved in local government and politics?
I think really you start at school.
Yes.
Well, actually before that, you start at home. You talk to your parents, you talk to your families about what you believe in, and you start to have those mature dialogues with adults and learn how to be heard in a respectful way, to voice your opinion, have a stance on something, but also learn how to listen to what other people have to say so that you can get the full picture.
Yeah.
And then put your hand up for local volunteer work. Get to know your community, know what they do want. Often we think that what we want is what everybody else wants.
Yeah.
But that's not the case. And being on Northern Beaches Council, I might have to vote something through that perhaps I don't like, but it's in the best interest of the community and the majority of the community want it. So it's about being able to really listen to other people and take a stand back and put your ego to one side and think about what's better moving forward, and then expose yourself to as many opportunities that you can have in that area, and then put your name on a ticket one day and go for it.
Yeah, I think that's tremendous. And it requires a lot of, I think, a little bit of bravery, putting yourself out there as a representative and having some self-confidence as well.
It does take a lot of courage because more often than not, at council, people are going to tell you what they don't like. They are going to berate you or send you dirty emails. No one rings to say thank you. No one rings to say,
well, I'm saying thank you now, and you are doing a great job.
But you have to realise it's not personal. They're not attacking you. They might be attacking a policy. It might be something that's affected them very deeply. So you have to be able to stand back from it and say, this person's not attacking me as Roslyn Harrison. They're looking at me as a representative of an organisation that perhaps they're not happy with their performance. So you do have to be brave and you do have to have a very thick skin.
Yes.
But I do think you need to step back and say, this actually isn't about me personally. This is about the job that I do.
Yes, it's not a personal attack. It's about the situation at hand.
Absolutely, yes.
And do you find, Rosalind, now that you're locally recognised, do you need to go out in a disguise so you can get your shopping done, or do people come up to you and
I'm not like
start
the mayor.
berating you?
No, I'm not like the mayor, where the mayor's really known. I'm still a little bit incognito.
Yeah.
The only people that would really know who I was would be people that I've had face-to-face dealing with. But the average Joe Bloggs on the street has no idea who I am.
No.
And that's fine by me. I mean, it's very different for our mayor, who's in the public face. I think he knows.
Yes.
He's known wherever he goes, but no.
He's in the Manly
I can
Daily
still
a lot.
hide. More people know me as, because I used to teach out at Mimosa Public School, more people know me as their ex-teacher than they would a counsellor.
Oh, well, that would probably invoke nice memories for them and a nicer
absolutely.
response.
Yeah.
Yes, I was wondering at the local shopping centre if you needed to wear, a fake moustache and a hat so you just get everything done. So people aren't coming up to you and saying, oh, my next-door neighbour's dog sets off my Fifi and what can you do about it, all that sort of thing.
No, they usually come in via email or over the telephone.
So that's the correct channel to send you an email or any of that.
It is an email. Actually, one thing I would say is send an email, because it's hard for me to take a phone call because I'm on class most of the time.
So if you want to contact one of the councillors at the Northern Beaches Council, send them an email, because they're more likely to be able to reply.
Yeah, I mean, in different councillors have different ways of communicating, but certainly with email, we can get to it any time. Usually by the time I finished all my day's work, it might be 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, and no one appreciates a phone call at that night.
No, of course not.
But that's when I can at least answer an email, and certainly then forward it on to whoever else needs to deal with it. So I find that's the most effective way for me.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic that our local councillors are available to us to hear our concerns, or to ask a question or answer a question and do some research on our behalf.
Yes,
and that's, I guess, what it's for.
That's absolutely right. And certainly if they've tried going through the regular channels of contacting council directly, so council staff, and they don't get a response, that's absolutely when they elevate it or escalate it to us, that we can intervene and help them.
Yes.
Pretty much, if you look out your front door, everything you look at, council has some responsibility to, from the curbs, guttering, roads, lights, garbage, so that's what I often say. If you look outside and if there's something wrong outside, more often than not, council's involved.
Yeah, council and the process of democracy, which is, I still believe, there's still the best political system you can have, because the other systems always end up being corrupt.
Absolutely.
Don't they, as we can see. So, Rosalind, the Northern Beaches Council came about a couple of years ago by amalgamating smaller local councils, didn't it?
Yeah.
And the purpose of that was to create a sort of a larger council that was a more strategically, financially, is it called fiscal responsible and responsibility?
Yes, it was, and it was because I think the state government were finding it very hard to continue subsidising and funding smaller councils.
Yes.
But in particular, Northern Beaches was quite unique in that we have such a huge stretch of beaches.
Yeah.
And sadly, the environment doesn't know where one boundary starts and the other boundary ends. And we had lots of resources, like natural assets, that were split. And it became very, very difficult when it was who takes responsibility for what particular asset. There were lots of problems around managing Narrabeen Lagoon, and certainly the beaches up and down. And particularly if, say, somebody went out from, I don't know, it might have been Kurkul Beach, but then they come in at another beach and they have a problem, who deals with it? They're like, well, they left your beach, but they came in at your beach.
Yeah.
So there were all these issues about that. And we were thinking, we have the most amazing natural assets. We shouldn't be fighting over who spends money on what. If we are one council, then that one council is accountable for the whole lot, and you can't keep passing the buck to someone else. So I think from my point of view, when I was looking at the amalgamation debate, that to me was the most important thing. It wasn't about money. It wasn't about rates. It was about, we have the most amazing natural resources on the Northern Beaches, both bush and waterways.
Yes.
And how do we protect that for future generations? And that's by making sure one body is completely accountable for that. And the other reason too is it just makes us a larger player on that state platform. And when the state government starts to sort of give directions as to how we should be moving, the more bodies that we have, the easier it is to say we're bringing a very large voter base to the table. So
yes,
you
take
need
note.
to listen to what we have to say.
Yes.
So I think for me, they were the two main reasons why I supported amalgamation. I don't think I would have done it just for financial reasons,
yes.
and I think that's probably why some other councils have not done it. But I think for Northern Beaches, we were unique enough that you look anywhere else across Sydney and nobody has what we have. So let's, bring it all together. Let's protect it. And I think most people in the Northern Beaches are so passionate about where we live.
Oh, it is wonderful.
That it was nice to unite us as a people. We
yes.
all say we live on the Northern Beaches anyway, regardless
yes.
of where you came from.
Yeah.
Let's unite us properly and let us all play to the same tune.
Yes.
So that's why I was happy for amalgamation to happen.
Yeah. And so when was the first Northern Beaches Council election?
Ooh, so that
for those that don't know?
That was 18 months ago.
Yes.
So it was September the 8th. So that must have been 2017.
Yes, yes.
September the 8th, 2017.
And is it every 4 years?
It usually is. This cycle it's 3.
Yes.
Because we went through that whole amalgamation thing,
yeah.
that took a year out of our cycle.
Oh, okay.
So everyone else had their election the year before, but because we were being amalgamated, we were in administration, then we had ours on 12 months later. So this particular cycle is only 3 years for us, but then we'll get in line with all the other councils back to 4 years.
Yes.
Yeah.
And one of the things I think is very important, particularly around the world, but in Australia, that voting is compulsory.
Yes.
And I think I've met people from all over the world in Sydney for various reasons, and they come from a country where it's not compulsory, even in the UK. And you think, how is that possible? This is part of the democratic process. You have a say, and you feel like you're part of something and part of the process. And I think I'm amazed that it's not compulsory in every first world country around the world.
Well, yes, but I'm always surprised as to the amount of people that don't want to vote. And you know, that's a privilege, and particularly women, you know, back in the day where women fought so hard for them to have that right to vote. And I always find it sad that you either have no interest in your community or you are happy to leave it in the hands of someone else, that you want to forego your voting rights and let somebody else do it for you, and then turn around and complain and say, I don't like what I've got. I'm always shocked as to how many people put in donkey votes or invalid votes. You know, they turn up to get their name ticked off, but they just fold up that piece of paper and put it in the bin. And obviously I spend a lot of time standing at polling booths, and the amount of people that go, oh, just tell me who to vote for, or why would I bother doing my research? Who cares? Well, particularly in local government, this actually is your back door step. Yes. You know, if you ever are going to vote sensibly about something, it's local government. Yes. Because you want to trust those people, because
this is your home.
It is. It's about your bins. It's about your beaches. It's about your streets. And if you don't get the right people in a local level, then you've got no hope at any other level. So further. I think it's odd that we've had to make it compulsory, because I would like people to be savvy enough that they want to vote and they want to have their say and be counted. I feel that the suffragette women are owed our vote in a way. Anything I know about what they went through, and even women now in third world countries and little girls growing up, I think we owe it to them to vote and have a say, particularly as women, and to support our women in politics at every level, because I think this is what the suffragette women wanted, not just the vote, but they would have seen further down the track. We actually not just want to get the vote, but we want to vote for other women. We want to see women in politics and women high court judges, and we want to see women in the military. Medicine, wherever.
And I think this is the wonderful progression. I think we're living in a wonderful era.
Yeah.
For all its problems and everything, we're more educated and we're more enlightened about what's going on in the world, and starting with our own local environment is the place, and very important. And I think it's, as you say, you can't really complain if you're not voting and doing some research about what's going on.
Becoming an informed voter.
Yes, become an informed voter.
Absolutely.
So I would definitely agree with that. Become an informed voter and know what's going on, and have a good blend and mix in the local council.
Yeah, absolutely. And I must say, I do find, obviously being a school teacher, I have a lot to do with primary school children, but I also have access to a lot of high school children. Yes. And I'm actually really impressed as to how politically savvy a lot of our young people are. And I feel like there's this real trend and a real movement of young people understanding politics, understanding what's a whitewash, what's genuine, knowing how to research what they believe in and then come to the polls informed. So I'm really pleased to see that trend. And certainly what I'm really impressed in seeing is, I think about my mother's generation, where they say, I vote the way my husband does. But these women that are coming through very much having their own ideas, and it might be completely opposed to their partner or their husband or whoever, but it's because I'm an individual, I don't belong to someone else, and so therefore my thoughts and my vote is my own.
Yes.
So I'm really pleased to see that emerging as well.
Oh, it's a wonderful step forward for women in particular.
Yeah.
So, Roslyn, what's your weekly schedule like? Because I know you're juggling a lot and getting up, and what sort of council time do you have to actually do? I know you've got your emailing and sub meetings and all sorts of things, but what night or day do you go into the council where you all get together?
So it kind of is how long is a piece of string. And to be honest, I have stepped back a little bit lately because my children need me more at the moment.
Yeah.
But a typical day is getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I do an hour of exercise.
Oh, that's wonderful.
I'm at school by 7 o'clock.
Yes.
So I start work at school at 7 o'clock. I'm usually at school till about 4:30. Then either I'm running around after the children, taking them to drama or to music lessons or band or whatever it is that they're doing, feeding them, those sorts of things, or it's going straight from school straight down to council for briefings or other community meetings or proper council meetings. And on those days, my poor children have to come home, do their own homework, cook for themselves, clean up after themselves, and almost put themselves to bed. My husband usually gets home before they go to bed, but they have to be pretty independent. And as 3 teenage boys, they're learning very quickly.
They're learning very important life skills.
Yeah, I don't know they like cooking too much, but they know how to cook spag bol and sausages and anything mince related.
Mince is great. It's versatile.
It's very versatile.
Throw it in the pan.
They've created lots of mince dishes over the last few years.
You can take them through life, mince, really.
Absolutely. But I mean, my children kind of have grown up around council because this is my second term.
Yes.
So Lachlan was about 4, I think, or 5 when I first got into. He'd only just started school when I first got into council.
Yeah.
So he's grown up with council around him. And then the other 2, because I've got twins. They were, I think, 7. Yeah. So they've gone from little boys to they'll be almost adults by the time I finish.
Well, you may never finish. You might just keep going.
I don't know.
They'll just wheel you out.
There'll be a point where I draw a line in the sand and say family first. And this is what I am finding. And look, when people say you can't have it all, you can't.
No.
And something has to suffer. And my social life does suffer.
Yes.
But there are times where I feel like my kids have suffered as well. And there are times where I do think, you know what, I could go to this council meeting and listen about what's going on with the economic side of a particular aspect of staff, or I could go home and actually do homework with my kids, sit around the table and eat dinner with my kids. And more often than not, I am doing that because, I think regardless for any woman, whatever they do, and I applaud any woman that can keep that many balls in the air, that they work full time and have family. But I do think whether it's a man or a woman, your family should always come first.
Absolutely. And also your health needs to come first. You can't burn yourself out.
But I would say that absolutely takes the back burner. That would be total bottom of the pile. Lack of sleep, it's like, well, I've got to get this done. I'll survive on 4 hours of sleep a night. That's the first thing. And then if you are sick, I don't have time to get sick, so you just soldier on. And I think that's interesting because we talk about that at school, and some of the teachers, they actually make part of their professional planning goals is about having a healthy work-life balance and keeping themselves healthy, because they said if they're sick, they can't teach children.
No, of course.
And it's interesting that they're thinking about it, and then I started applying it to myself from that council side of thing as well. And I thought, we all need to do that. And I think women are really bad at doing that, And I don't think it's martyrdom. I just think they're so used to putting their hat on and changing their hat and putting their hand up that they just do it, and because they do, then there's a societal expectation that they will continue to do it, and rather than complain, they just get the job done. That's
right. And use that nurturing quality they have to put everyone else first and perhaps not themselves first.
Yeah, and
because they don't have time to do that.
Well, that's right, but then I don't think we're much use to anyone. I know when I've had very little sleep and just been run ragged, it might be like 2 or 3 weeks where I just haven't stopped. The kids catch my wrath, whether it's at school or at home. You get grumpy and you start taking it out on your family, and you think, hang on a sec, this is not their fault.
No.
So, I do think all women need to sometimes take a step back and whether it's have a manicure, go out with a friend for a coffee, sit and read a good book, or watch a great movie and just cry through it.
Yes.
But you need to allow yourself and not feel guilty for having that time and saying, this actually is about me being a healthy person. Because I think most women feel very guilty. I went to the movies and I spent money on myself. I bought dinner out. And why do we do that to ourselves?
No, that I think taking care of yourself is paramount to being able to take care of your business and other people.
Absolutely.
And your family. And I know being a teacher and being on the council, you would be up with your emails and doing a lot of work out of hours, late at night. Yes. And having to say, well, this has to go away now because I need to get those 4 hours sleep or hopefully more.
Yep.
But sometimes you just have to delegate and know that you can't do it all.
Yeah, and there are times where you pick your battles in terms of the emails you're going to take on. And there are things that sometimes, particularly if it falls outside of your ward, you might say, not my ward, so therefore I'm going to let those ward councillors deal with that issue. I'm going to focus my time on the people in my ward. So you do absolutely have to pick and choose so that you can have an acceptable level of work.
Yes. What do you do, Rosalind? I know you don't have a lot of spare time, but what would you like to do if you did have time to relax? What kind of things helps your immune system and helps you mentally and emotionally to relax? Do you like particular music?
Sit outside and read.
Yes, just have some quiet time. I love being
outside. So I'll sit outside on our deck and read. We're a bit of a camping family, so if we do go away on family holidays, it's usually camping.
Yeah.
And I'm happy just to sit and read non-stop. The other thing I like to do is cook, like bake. Yeah. Naughty things, cookies and cakes and all those naughty things. If I've got time, it's like the most sort of like naughty thing that I can cook. Ooh. And then the kids, then they come down because it's like, oh, Mum's cooking a cake, so they get involved, and then it becomes a bit of family time as well. Yeah. Most of it usually gets eaten from the bowl before it even ends up in the oven.
Oh, it's always nice from the bowl. I used to have a lady across the road, one of my girlfriends' mums, who was always baking cakes, and it was who would lick the beaker, who would lick the bowl.
Yep, the wooden spoon.
It was just a real treat. It was almost better than when it was actually cooked.
Absolutely.
And it was just a nice, nurturing time to do that with a mum too.
Yeah, because you talk and, and you might be talking about the cake, but often it's other things that come up. So you start to learn more about your kids and their family and their friends.
I think it's wonderful that you've got your boys involved in that and that they're involved in looking after themselves as well. So as they become adults, they're not going to be expecting a woman to do that for them.
Work for them.
They can just get on and do it for themselves, and they see that from their mum juggling a lot of things, that you need to have compassion and empathy and do your part of the family chores.
Yeah, it's about being equals in everything, isn't it? So equal in the workload, equal in the household, all those sorts of things. Yeah. And I think if you can demonstrate that equality at home, then that should carry over for them later on in life.
Yeah.
But when you talk about music, I mean, my favourite thing is just sitting and listening to classical music.
Oh, yes.
But then I like to pull out a bit of Johnny Farnham.
Oh, well, look.
Even right back to Tire Yellow Ribbon.
It's an oldie but a goodie.
Showing my age and my favourite woman.
Yes.
Of course, is good old Tina Arena, who I used to watch on Young Talent Time.
Of course.
When I was a young girl.
She's fabulous.
I can't sing. I sound like a strangled cat.
Yes.
But watching her
why stop there?
But I still sing in the car.
Singing is actually very healthy for us. It puts us into the
I lead a choir at school.
You do that as well, my goodness.
They don't care. They don't know that I can't sing.
No, well, you're drowned out. Your voice is drowned out. That's the main thing.
Absolutely. Well, and I just sing my heart out and they just go, you go, Mrs. Harrison.
I think we might celebrate Mrs. Harrison's fabulous voice and her fabulous achievements on council.
By getting me to sing.
No, we'll get Johnny Farnham to sing. Or should I say John Farnham
now? I know
now?
he's John, but
what would be your favourite? Well, he looks like a Johnny, doesn't he?
I think my favourite would have to be You're the Voice.
Shall we put You're the Voice on now? I think we might do that. We'll just take a break, listeners, and here is John Farnham with You're the Voice. And that was John Farnham with You're the Voice. And you're listening to Laughter and Enlightenment with Sharon Gambrill here at Radio Northern Beaches.
And we laughed a lot at how terribly we both sang along with that, didn't we?
No one heard. And that's the magic of editing.
Are you sure the microphone was off while we were singing?
It sure was. And this is my very special guest this week, Northern Beaches Councillor Roslyn Harrison. And we're going to go back. And I think you mentioned that Tina Arena is maybe your favourite female singer, Australian singer, although she is, I think, has a French passport as well, isn't she?
I think probably she is probably my favourite female vocalist, like Australian or not.
She's achieved an amazing thing because she went to live in France. She had a big hit over there and she just packed up and went and lived in France for 10 or more years. And I think that, as you say, with women going into politics or anyone going into politics, she put herself out there.
Yes.
And I think it was quite brave to do that.
Definitely.
And obviously now can speak fluent French, and I believe her partner's French and she has a son who would be bilingual. So I think to celebrate her achievements and the achievements of our special guest this week, what would be your favourite Tina Arena song?
Don't Cry for Me, Argentina. Because she's been performing in Evita.
Yes.
So, and I just think there's so much of what she represents in that role about being a strong, powerful woman and standing up for what she believes in and often against popular belief.
Yes.
And being that real inspiration.
So we're back with our guest, Roslyn Harrison. Now, Roslyn, there's beautiful beaches and coastal walks and parks in the Northern Beaches. Do you have any favourite places that you like to visit? Do you ever, you mentioned earlier you go camping, do you ever take your family just down to the Narrabeen?
Narrabeen, yes we do.
I know so many people. No, I know
do.
So many people that take their camping tent and their four-wheel drives and they go down to Narrabeen. It's like 10 minutes away.
And it's great because then the kids, if they have to go to soccer, you can still do soccer and you can still do all your weekend things, but you're still getting away from it all. So
did you actually sleep in a tent by the lake or get a cabin?
Oh, so we started out with tents and then we upgrade to like a camper trailer and then we upgraded to a caravan.
Yeah.
So, but we do Narrabeen. But I think my all-time favourite haunts were when I was a young girl growing up. My locals were North Curly and Harbord.
Yes.
Sorry, I think we have to call it Freshwater now, but going back to my era,
I still would call it Harbord at times.
Harbord and North Curly. That's where I spent all my teenage years. I'd catch the 136.
Yes.
I'd walk to Forest Way, Arndale.
Yes.
Arndale Shopping Centre. And then I'd catch the 136 and it'd take about an hour to get there because public transport was so bad.
Yeah.
And I'd sit on the beach all day, put oh gosh, the things we did. Put baby oil or coconut oil.
Yes, we're of the same era.
9 minutes, turn over,
I
9
know.
minutes,
Yes.
like a turkey, cooked turkey.
Dear.
And
I think I had some sort of Hawaiian blend
Yes!
that smelled like coconut.
Yep.
Oh, dear. At least I think there was an ozone layer back then.
There might have been,
So we would maybe miss that problem. But
perhaps, but I spend a lot of time. And that's what all our friends, and we just do that.
That was our culture and our local environment, yes.
And you'd pick up your towel, put on your thongs, get back on the 136, come home looking like a lobster.
Yes. And I would bleach my hair. I would lie back with with
lemon juice,
chamomile tea, or the salt water, and bleach my hair. Now I go to a salon. I try to go to a less chemical.
Yeah.
And I'd have the same effect and don't get the sun damage. But
yes.
I mean, the ocean is very healthy for us with all the negative ions from the sea spray. And apparently I read somewhere that our brainwaves go into this relaxation state that mimics the waves.
The waves, yeah,
and
that's
the relaxation state that turns on our parasympathetic nervous system. So anything that we can do to help ourselves relax and support our immune system is really important.
And there's something incredible about getting out over the break of the waves and just laying on your back and just having that...
Just sort of bobbing
rock.
Effect. Yeah.
Yeah, as you... sort of just let the whole world just drift away.
And the salt water special. Being a little bit buoyant is very, very relaxing.
Absolutely.
I had a swim once. I went to Hawaii on the way to the United States a couple of years ago, and I thought I'll spend a night at Waikiki, why not? And the water was so salty and so buoyant. Not like our water.
Yeah.
It seems to gather salt as it goes further up the Pacific.
My husband and I had our honeymoon in the Caribbean, and same thing.
Yeah.
Same thing that, because I'm one of these people that can't really float. My legs kind of just sink down, and I remember being there and not having to do any kind of moving of my arms or legs, and I just float. And it was just the most incredible thing. And I suspect it would be like those, those flotation tanks that used to be popular. I don't know whether you get in them now, but I couldn't do that because I'm claustrophobic. So getting in a tiny little dark space like that.
I did try it a couple of times. I got a year's gift subscription to, I think it was a Fernwood Ladies Health Centre.
Right.
They didn't have it locally, so I would just go into the Wynyard one on a Sunday because of parking and everything.
Yeah.
And they had a float tank and I'd book in to do that. It was a very unusual experience.
Yeah.
It was kind of like lying on thick jelly.
Ooh.
And you'd kind of lie there and I go, I hope this is being cleaned thoroughly.
Oh, well, that's a thing too.
But being all ladies, it was kind of, there's a little bit perhaps more hygiene being taken care of.
I don't know.
I don't know
that I'd want to do that. And I say, once they closed that lid, I was worried that it would never open
music,
again.
Come on, I know. It's interesting, our little phobias we have.
I know.
And Rosalind, we're talking about you represent French's Forest Ward, and the big thing that's happened in this area is that new hospital. And how's the progress of the hospital going? It's all opened now.
Yeah.
Have you been to inspect? Did the councillors go and inspect?
Yes, it was really exciting.
Yeah.
So before it opened, we had a special tour and we went out and saw the helipad, and I even made them take me to the morgue because I wanted to see that. I thought that was really interesting.
Part of it, isn't it?
The thing that I think struck me the most is the kitchen setup, because of the thousands of meals that they produce a day, and like almost an entire floor was the kitchen. And you don't realise, when you think about a hospital, you think about the medical services.
Yes.
But you actually don't think about like the laundry services and the catering that goes on as well. And there's an entire floor dedicated to that. But it was interesting. I think they obviously experienced a few bumps in the road.
Yes, understandably so, I think.
Up and running. And I think what's important to know is when people realise when council can help and council can't help. And unfortunately, everything to do with the running of the hospital, council.
It's out of your jurisdiction.
And even the roads at the moment, I sit in that disgusting traffic all the time too, and I'm every bit as frustrated as every other resident. And what I can say is that staff work painfully and tirelessly with the state roads to make sure that we get things done as quickly as possible. But they really don't have much authority at all. I mean, to be honest, even on all our local streets, although council manage the streets, at the end of the day, all roads belong to state roads. But it's just certain roads are then given back to council to manage. Yep. So any time that we need to put up street signs or change anything to do with any roads on the Northern Beaches, it has to get approved by the RMS.
Yes.
And I think that's something that a lot of people don't understand. They think this is a council road, so you should be able to do with it whatever you like. But all of those decisions go to the traffic committee, and if everyone votes for it except for the RMS can veto anything.
Okay.
So more often than not, they are going to go for it. But it's not as simple as saying, council, why aren't you doing anything about it? Fix it.
Yes.
And I think I'd have to say to all residents about the roads, as much as they are hideous and I sympathise with them 2,000%, there is only so much that council can do.
Yeah. So please note, if you see Roslyn at Coles, don't come up to her waving your potatoes at her saying, do something.
Change the phasings of those lights.
Yes, yes.
Look, and what I will say too is I've had many, many meetings. Councillors meet regularly with the key RMS staff, and I think they are trying their best too. And they do keep resequencing the phasing of the lights, and because you know how sometimes you'll get like a really good run,
yes,
and another time you'll have a really bad
hang on,
time.
I just left.
Yeah, what's happened? So they do keep trying to, because they're changing things all the time, and
every week, because I live very quite near the hospital.
Right, so new roads are opening and closing.
Yes.
So there's always, whatever they make a change, there's always that real glut again, because they have to experiment with the phasing for a while till they get it right. Then you'll find it goes really well for a while. Then they make a change and it all comes to a grinding halt.
Yeah.
So I do think, and I'm trying to defend the state government, but I do think those people that are in the RMS are trying to do the best.
You can only do something at one step at a time. And I did hear that there was some sort of road that was found underneath that wasn't in the original plans, like a Roman road, although it wasn't, of course, Roman roads, but something unexpected turned up.
They'd obviously started to do some work and they've gone, this didn't work, we've got our levels wrong, and off
convict
they went.
road,
yeah.
And they had to deal with that and then go on. So it's one of those things. It's going to be very good, and it is now, but just have to be a little bit more patient, because it's nearly done.
It is,
but not quite.
I do feel for those people that are directly affected, those people that live around, Forest Way and French's Forest Road, and all of those roads that are directly impacted. I just think it must be horrendous for them.
I just think the dust and the drill. I know they put notes in my mailbox all the time with night road work, and it doesn't affect me so much because I'm a bit further away down the road, and we're using pads underneath the drillers and all this sort of thing. And I think they can only do so much, and you can't expect people to work 24 hours a day all the time.
No, but I mean, and that's the balance too. Do you have the noise going 24/7 and get it done in 2 years, or do you spread it out and let people sleep for maybe 8 hours a night, but it goes for 5 years? And I think that's the other thing, that's the balancing act. Even if they could have shifts working around the clock, you just can't do that for the residents. But for every second that they're not working on the road, the longer it's going to blow out.
That's right.
So it's a real tough one, and I think very tough for the Northern Beaches, because it's the most road work we've had, well, certainly in my lifetime, and I'm nearly 50, so
goodness, yes,
so I just think it's just so unexpected. We're so used to our little way of life, and this has totally thrown us on our head.
Yeah, but it is a wonderful hospital, and from the outside it looks like an art gallery.
Well, inside it does too.
It's got the chandeliers and all paintings, and
it's got beautiful artworks inside.
I think it's nice to take away the hospital feel of that grey block that looks sort of foreboding.
It's quite hotel-ish.
That's the new trend of hospitals. I think there's a few in Queensland, one in Southport I went to once, and it looks similar, like an art gallery. You've got all those panels on it and the colours and the chandelier, and you feel more comforted if you're going in there.
And more welcome, and it's not like I'm just about to be spliced open from ear to ear or whatever it is. You feel...
And when you had your inspection there, did you see I know there's the private section and the public. Are they very similar? Being both quite new, or?
Well, yes. Like, I mean, I probably shouldn't say you might as well go as a public patient because it's just as good.
Yes.
But no, I mean, it's a bit like, when you go out to Homebush and you walk through the display homes, how the display homes just have the better finishes of everything.
Just slightly, yes.
But obviously with the public ward, there might be more than one person in a room. They do have wards, and so you might share a bathroom, whereas in the private ward, it's one bed, one bathroom, and that bathroom might have marble in it, whereas the public one has Formica.
Oh, okay, yes.
So there are those things, but I think the one thing that's important to say is that the healthcare that you get is the same regardless of whether you're private or public.
It's excellent.
And they were very, very adamant about making sure that you get better meals here, you still get fed well here, but here you get a choice, here you're probably given it. But when it comes to medical care, it is the same across the board.
Yes.
And I think that's very important for people going, if they can't afford private health cover or they are fundamentally opposed for whatever reason, they're still going to get the health care that they need at that hospital.
Yeah, we are lucky. I mean, Medicare has its faults, but overall, like democracy, I think the system is so much better than... I know I had a friend that lived in the Philippines for 3 years when her husband was posted to Manila to work, and there's no Medicare. If you don't have any money... you don't get seen to.
Well, that's like
There's
America,
no public housing. It's a very difficult lifestyle if you are poor and you don't have family to help support you.
Yeah.
So we have a lot to be thankful for.
We do. And it's interesting you should mention that because for a lot of people, they don't like paying rates or they don't like paying tax. And while nobody likes it, I must admit, I actually don't have a problem with that because I would rather know that a portion of my income does go to support our community as a whole, whomever that is. Yeah. And yes, there are some people that rort the system, but I think it's such a small percentage. I would rather know that we are supporting everybody and not allowing people to slip through the gaps.
Yes.
And if we didn't have the system that we have in terms of our tax, we would be like the Philippines, or we would be like...
Well, those economies that have gone literally bankrupt, and there's no food, and people are queuing for a toilet roll, and it's very dire. I don't know how they sort that out.
Yeah.
But democracy and Medicare and all of these wonderful things we have, as a general rule, work very well, I think.
Absolutely.
Yes. And so what does the rest of the year look like for you, Roslyn? You're going to have busy times with the council, and then you have your school holiday break for your day job, which I imagine you just keep doing busy stuff. I have a friend who's a teacher, and she says she waits till the school holidays and then she gets a cold.
Yes, yeah, actually
she
that
sort of
happens
saves
all the time.
it up.
You get sick.
The first week of the holidays is just recovering and getting a little bit sick. And then
I think there's a bit of a misnomer that teachers, they get all these holidays. We may not be at school teaching children, but generally in those school holidays, you're programming all of your lessons for the next term. So you might spend, and most of that time you're actually at school, you're collaborating with other colleagues and actually figuring that out. So I probably spend a solid week, and it might be 8 o'clock in the morning to 5 o'clock in the afternoon at school. So full day.
Yes, very
where I'm
full
working
day.
out the program, and that might be, I include a Saturday and a Sunday in there, and then the second week probably I would dedicate to doing council work and also trying to make sure that I spend time with my kids as well.
That's right, remember them.
Yep. So the year ahead, a few
sounds
camps
busy.
for school.
Yes.
We're going to school camp.
Do the schools take children locally, or do you go further afield?
Oh, we're going to Bathurst this year.
Oh, wow, that's a long way.
So we have a 2-year cycle. We go to Bathurst 1 year, then Canberra the next. So this year it's Bathurst, so we go there for 3 days. And then other than that, it's just what you would normally do for school. Kids-wise, I've got one son that's about to go on an international band tour with Manly Selective High School. So he's going to Germany and Poland and all these amazing places for a few weeks. So we've got to get him ready for that. He has lots of music tutorials and running around for that. And on council, the big things for council is really trying to keep the pressure on the New South Wales government to make sure that things like boarding houses don't go to...
Yes, that's a big issue right now.
Off-wall and inappropriate development, and it's all this affordable housing SEP where we're having lots of the problems, but making sure that we have appropriate development in the right areas. So that's a constant battle. That's something we're constantly battling. And the other big thing that's a big drive for me throughout this year that I won't sleep until it happens is trying to get some bus rapid transport from DY straight through to Chatswood, because like we were saying about the 136, there's not much to get us from DY Brookvale to Chatswood and through that route. So I really want to fight to make sure that we have something like, now that we've got the hospital, There's no way to get there.
Yeah.
So
that's right. Not everyone can get the helicopter there.
Yeah, so that's one of my goals. And another goal that I have on council too is I want to try and get council to become a dementia-friendly council. Yes. Because I think with our ageing population, we do have lots of people through various stages of dementia. And if you don't understand the symptoms of dementia, you might think that it's a lunatic old man or a drunk old woman, when actually they're not. They're having one of their dementia phases, and if the council can be trained, particularly the front line staff, if they know what to look for, they then know, oh, this is one of these people. I need to ring this particular unit because that unit has all these people's details, and then someone that can come and help them. They can kind of calm them down, bring them in and sit down. So that's a personal thing for me. So there are a couple of my bigger goals, and then it's just the day-to-day running of council, signing off on quarterly budgets and making sure staff get paid and all those sorts of things. We
won't have any government shutdowns in the Northern Beaches, that's for sure, like the US.
Yes,
I don't think that's a possibility.
No. Look, our new CEO, Ray Brownlee, he's amazing. Yeah, and he's implemented this new structure and employed these fantastic, top guns. So I think the Northern Beaches Council, it's already in a good position, but I think it's only going to go from strength to strength. Yeah. And under the leadership of Mayor Michael Regan, I think we're in a really healthy spot. And I think most councillors are there trying to do their best. There is obviously certain politics from certain politicians around the table, but there's enough that want to do the right thing that we can get the good stuff.
Yes, I think that's wonderful. And I think it's fabulous that there's accountability and there's a good mix of people on the Northern Beaches Council, and everyone's doing their best and going forward, because we are very fortunate to live here. And we all know it.
Absolutely.
And
we want to protect it.
I think it's extremely important.
For as long as possible.
Yeah, because once forests are gone and parks are built over and the beaches are polluted, it's very difficult. You
just can't
get
come
it back.
Yeah.
So we're all very happy to live here. And I think just to finish off our interview, let's have one more piece of music or a song. Do you have a favourite song, Roslyn, that gets you up and going in the morning, that you might exercise to, or that makes you feel excited about life? And
does it have to be Australian?
No, we've filled our Australian quota now.
Okay, I would have to say The Final Countdown by Europe.
Yes, The Final Countdown.
That one gets me going every time.
Everyone's going to be up dancing with The Final Countdown. So this is going into our final moments of our interview.
It is The Final Countdown. Here we go.
A fabulous councilwoman, or council person, as we should say, Roslyn Harrison. And this is Europe with The Final Countdown. And I'd like to say thank you very much to our very special guest this week, Roslyn Harrison, and to say thank you very much for making the time to talk to Radio Northern Beaches.
Thank you, Sharon. It was lots of fun. I certainly enjoyed singing all those songs with you.
Laughter and Enlightenment will be on next Thursday here at Radio Northern Beaches from 6 to 7 p.m. And until next week, have a happy, healthy and laughing week.